You ever wake up one day and realize you're smack in the middle of a story that nobody would believe? Not even if you spelled it out, frame by frame, courtroom sketch by courtroom sketch. Yeah, well, that was me, standing on my porch at 6 in the morning watching Karen Langley, HOA president, local legend, in her own mind, slamming both fists against my gate like she was trying to wake the dead. No warning, no memo, just a solid steel barricade across the only road into her precious Maple Hills, and behind her, a mob of confused neighbors, half in pajamas, half in panic. "You can't do this!" she shrieked, red-faced pearls jangling. "You're cutting off an entire community!" I just leaned against the rail, arms folded, calm as a Texas sunrise, and said, "This is my land, Karen. Should have thought twice before trying to steal it." That's when she pulled out her phone, hands shaking, and threatened 911. I grinned. Please do. Because every inch of what I'd done was legal and I'd made damn sure of it. But let me back up a sec. I'm Adam Whitmore, 43, single dad, mostly just trying to mind my own business on the 12-acre ranch I inherited from my uncle. Been in the Whitmore family near a century, long enough for folks to forget where my property line actually was. After my uncle passed, I left the Dallas mess behind, set up remote work as a software developer, and settled into a routine of feeding goats, mending fences, and soaking up the kind of quiet that city money can't buy. And it stayed quiet until Karen moved in across the road, president of an HOA built on top of what she thought was her empire. Maple Hills. Gated, glossy, all matching lawns and overpriced siding. Here's the kicker. There's only one paved road out, and the first 200 yards of it cross my land. My uncle had signed a temporary easement with the developer, but that paper expired the day he died. Nobody noticed or cared until Karen decided to make it her business. First came the letter typed with more attitude than a New York parking ticket. "Dear Mr. Whitmore," it read, "your unsightly barn and rusted vehicles are in violation of our beautification standards." I nearly choked on my coffee. That barn's older than her HOA, but she wanted it gone in 2 weeks or she'd call the county. I laughed it off, but sure enough, next week a sheriff's deputy showed up, apologized for wasting my time, and left. But Karen didn't stop. 2 months later, county clerks at my door with rezoning paperwork. Someone wants my pasture designated as HOA property for community infrastructure. No prizes for guessing who. That's when I got serious, hired Stephanie Clean, a land use attorney with a poker face that'd scare most folks, and we dug up every document we could find. "Mr. Whitmore," she told me, "if you want to shut that road down, you can do it today." They got nothing. I did not right away. Figured I'd give them a chance, so I wrote a polite letter to the board, offered a new easement, small fee, nothing wild. Karen's reply. Called it extortion, fired up the neighborhood Facebook with claims I was holding families hostage. That was it. I sent official notice, 30 days, and the road would be closed. I figured she'd call my bluff. I was wrong. Friday morning sunrise, I brought in a crew, set up barricades big enough to stop a cattle drive, and waited. 5 minutes later, Karen rolled up in her bathrobe, voice already cracking. The rest of Maple Hills poured out behind her parents' kids, somebody still holding a bowl of cereal. People started shouting, "Work, school, groceries." What now? I just stood there, told Karen she could take it up with my lawyer. She hollered about common property and community rights, but the sheriff arrived before she could hit her crescendo. 3 deputies, looking about as tired as I felt, listened while I handed them every legal notice I'd sent. Deputy Sanchez, bless him, read it over, shrugged, and told Karen, unless she could show a deed, there was nothing to arrest me for. She blustered, but the law was on my side, and when another resident piped up that the old farm road worked just fine if you didn't drive like a bat out of hell, the crowd started laughing. Karen fumed. "You think you've won, don't you?" she snapped. I just told her, "You tried to take what wasn't yours. I'm not backing down." But you know that's never the end. That night, headlights flashed across my barn, caught 2 figures trying to move the barricades. Next morning, I sent the footage to Stephanie. If they'd broken anything, she said, you'd own their house. But this was just the opening shot. 3 days later, I got a notice someone petitioned the county for emergency seizure of my land for public access. The board called a hearing. Karen, in a cherry red suit, turned it into theater, weeping about kids trapped, emergency vehicles, blocked, the whole nine. But the board saw through it, ruled in my favor, but gave her 10 days to appeal. And boy, did she use them. I came home to find my fence-slashed goats scattered, one limping. More camera footage, same SUV. I hired security, put up more signs, and braced for the next punch. Meanwhile, Karen got the local news on her side, headlines screaming, "Rancher blocks community with fake land claim." People started giving me the side eye at the gas station. Someone tagged HOA justice on my fence, and my internet mysteriously cut out for a week. Stephanie kept digging through records. Original survey, will every scrap of proof. Adam, she said, it's all solid. You own it. But the pressure was relentless. Anonymous calls, veiled threats, even a break-in at my barn with a warning spray painted on the wall, "Open the road or else." Then came court day. Judge Rowley, tough as old leather, called it straight, my deed, my land, my right. He dismissed the HOA's claims and warned them not to try again unless they had actual evidence. Karen stormed out, but as I was leaving, a stranger pressed a folder into my hands. Photos, emails. Proof Karen had been secretly negotiating to sell off HOA green space to a developer called Clearview Properties. She'd set up a fake LLC, faked documents, even promised land she didn't own. Now I've seen dirty tricks, but this was criminal. Stephanie brought in a digital forensics guy, traced every email and signature. Turns out Karen was plotting to sell the whole neighborhood out from under them. We decided to take it public, but not with a lawsuit, with a Texas barbecue. Invited everyone from Maple Hills, let them read the evidence themselves. The place erupted, anger, betrayal, folks yelling about higher dues and missing funds. That's when the neighborhood finally snapped out of it. But Karen wasn't finished. She tried to slap me with a restraining order for inciting conflict. The judge tossed it in 10 minutes. Then right there in court, she lost her mind, screaming at everyone until the county investigator followed her out. The next morning, the backup road got targeted. Clearview filed to take control. They were playing chess with people's lives, and Karen was the queen, making desperate moves. I filed for an emergency order, closed off every access point to Maple Hills until the investigation was done. Karen, she vanished. Just poof. No emails, no HOA drama, nothing. Turns out she ran off to Nevada, checked into a wellness resort under a fake name, but some sharp-eyed local recognized her from a viral news story and called it in. She got arrested, charged with fraud, conspiracy, wire tampering. It was a circus, and for the first time, the people who'd once called me a villain were asking me for help. We blocked the developers, froze Karen's assets, and the new HOA board dissolved. Her presidency did a full audit, even invited me to help rewrite the bylaws, something I never thought I'd do. Just when things seemed calm, the other shoe dropped. A $2.5 million lawsuit from Clearview, claiming breach of contract, defamation, the works. We countersued for fraudulent dealings, rallied the neighbors, gathered signatures, and on voting day, nearly every house backed us. The judge tossed Clearview's case, their lawyer got investigated for tampering, and the last traces of Karen's empire crumbled. But, stories like this don't really end, they just slow down. A month later, Karen's lawyer tried one last stunt, a $750,000 offer to buy back road access. Stephanie saw right through it, just another scam, this time with a bigger check. We exposed the offer at a public meeting, and the crowd applauded when I said no sale was worth my family's legacy. So for the first time in years, I took down the barricades, not for Karen, not for Clearview, but for the folks who deserved better. Drew up a new agreement with the HOA, shared access. No more loopholes, no more power grabs. That weekend, we threw a party on the green space, laughed like neighbors ought to, and watched the sun go down on peace, real peace. 6 months later, I got a shaky letter from Karen herself. 3 lines. You beat me fair. I lost everything. If you ever sell that land, don't let them build on it. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I folded it away, looked out at the quiet road, and realized I'd earned every bit of that peace, even if the scars run deep. So what do you think? Was I right to stand my ground, or did I go too far? Let me know down in the comments, and remember, never mess with a rancher who knows the law.